Hello again, welcome to the Ref Show. And while there were a couple of performances that you could say were unbecoming of Premier League referees, the majority had a really good weekend, and we'll discuss all of that with Keith Hackett and Brian Deane, our expert panel this weekend. Chaps, can we start with the Manchester clubs, the contrasting fortunes of City and United? And we'll begin with United's latest defeat, third in a row for Jose Mourinho, 3-1 at a very underrated, for me, Watford team. The referee's performance, Michael Oliver, was highly marked by Glenn Turner on RefCam. What did you think, Keith, first of all?
Well, I think over the last 2 years we've recognised that Michael is a good referee, but I've been consistently saying, along with others, look, he needed to use more pace within his game. You know he's a fit referee, but he was underutilising his strength, or one of his strengths. What a change. I thought his movement, positioning, his persona was one of, I'm going to get through this game. I think he suddenly realised that if he puts that extra effort in, then the elite level of UEFA is looking at a potential position that he could achieve.
There's a bit of a debate about the first goal. He allowed play to go on. There were some who felt that Martial of Manchester United was fouled. Certainly Jose Mourinho felt that. We've seen this before from Jose. Maybe a bit of deflection technique, appearing to blame the referee for Manchester United's shortcomings, maybe? What do you think?
First of all, I think it was a foul. I think, having seen it 2 or 3 times, it was definitely, it's clattered into the back of him. So you can understand the manager having a beef with that. Is he making excuses? Well, I think what you get with Jose is he's probably buying a little bit of time. His team is still settling. I think that he's certainly got players in that team who he wants to replace with people he's brought in. And I think that he's getting to the point now where he's going to have to just go with what he wants to do rather than have to grease everybody. The public, the fans, whatever. He's gone. It's coming to that point for me with him now.
An outstanding performance you felt from Michael Oliver, Keith, although certainly one other thing highlighted, and Brian's mentioned what he thought was a foul in the build-up to that goal. There could have been one of these penalties for grappling there. I think it was Fellaini on Deane at one stage of the game.
I think when you get into the detail, I think on the one that Brian's referred to, when I first looked, I thought it was a foul. And when I looked again, it's a foul. I think that Michael probably didn't give it because the assistant was closer to it, and he was probably looking for the assistant to give a bit of a wave to say free kick. But Glenn looked at it running in the same light as the referee because he doesn't have a second view, and Glenn thought it was okay. But
in fact, he saw it the same way you did originally in real time. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Manchester City 4, Bournemouth 0. This was John Moss in charge. Just before we come to a question of shirt colours and a potential clash here in this game between the referee and one of the teams, there was a sending off in this. This was Nolita of City for what I saw described as an attempted headbutt. So,
attempting to strike is a dismissal offence. Yeah. The problem was that the player overreacted, and it's football, so you play with your feet. And there is that general warning that's been there for a number of years, and that is where there's that level of contact. And he had a second go, so his head went for a second go. So on this one, I'm supporting John Moss. A player has got to play with his feet and not his head.
Look, the game's already won then. Yeah. And what he's doing.
Stupid.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's maybe it's a bit of showboating. And as a player, sometimes you get out there, you get a little bit carried away. It's a little bit enthusiastic, but that's one thing that you cannot do. It's just ridiculous.
Okay. Well, the referee stood out, but only because of what he was wearing, which is a good thing in a way, because John Moss, I think, had a good game here. I don't think there's anything you could query about his performance. He needed that performance.
He did, but he'd... Of course, I was inundated with emails, as I've no doubt other people were, and that is the colour of his shirt. He decided to wear pink. And it is a pink shirt. I've nothing against that. It leans a bit towards red. But of course, Bournemouth. And therefore, when you watch on television, there's a clear clash. Doesn't help the players who are making those quick passes. They don't have to suddenly go and recognise his own player. So I think that he should have stuck to what the principles are, and that's 5 different colours on the pitch, from administration point of view, home team, away team. home team goalkeeper, away team goalkeeper, and then a team of officials. He's got blue, yellow, black in his bag, and any one of those would have been okay.
I was just going to ask that question actually. How many shirts does a referee carry with him?
Yeah.
3, 4.
Right.
But it could be an administration error, because at one stage I know that the Premier League used to say these are the colours of the clubs, to make certain no problems on the Saturday, and then also advise on the referee's ideal colour.
Okay, we're going to talk about Roger East, who had a very eventful weekend, second eventful weekend in a row, and it was a contentious matter that he was even in the Premier League, refereed Hull Arsenal. We'll talk about that in part 2 of the Ref Show. And also Lee Mason had 1 or 2 problems in the Everton Middlesbrough game. So we'll talk about that, but for balance for now, let's run down some good performances. Martin Atkinson, Chelsea 1, Liverpool 2.
Well, he's carried his form through. I mean, I just like to see Martin Atkinson referee now. I mean, compared to the start of last season and how he's refereeing, he's carried all his European form, and he's achieving it because even as one of the elder statesmen in the team, he's putting in the effort and he is moving more freely. He might be free, he might have been carrying an injury a season ago, we don't know. But he's certainly performing well and getting through games quietly, you know, and not attracting the problems.
As did Craig Pawson, I believe. That was Crystal Palace's 4-1 victory over Stoke. Anthony Taylor 2, Leicester 3, Burnley 0. Mike Jones, Southampton 1, Swansea 0. Good to see him get some games again in the Premier League. Mike Deane, inevitably Spurs 1, Sunderland 0. Although, according to Ref Cam, it was Andy Hogg who did that. He felt he really should have produced a second yellow card to dismiss Gilly Bogie right at the end of that game. Mark Clattenburg inevitably gets a pat on the back. I mean, these are routine here. West Brom 4, West Ham 2. We're seeing some strange, deliberate handball offences at the moment. This was West Ham's opener for a penalty, a totally unnecessary, needless offence by Arthur Mazuaku. What's going on?
I'll tell you, I don't get it. You know, because I've been in the box defending, and the last thing you're thinking about as a player who's defending is sticking your hand on the ball. I don't want to say there's anything sinister, but I just can't believe that there is any what would be going on in somebody's mind to think, well, I'm going to put my hand out here. You know, there's 30,000 people watching the game as well. I mean,
sometimes it can be instinctive, perhaps if it's near goal or a player thinks it's going in. But
I mean, I remember when we was at the Blades and we played against Oxford, and it was my second spell, and I remember Bobby Ford handballed it on the line and got sent off, and I can understand it in that case, but I can't understand it in any other case. No. It's just
Keith. Nobody wants to be suspicious and talk about. Well, that's the always are going to be.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Potentially, when something that's out of the ordinary, you know, he's a professional footballer. He's not taught to handle the ball.
We're not suggesting that, by the way, but we are trying to get our heads around.
But I'm just expressing it from a player's point of view. Being on that pitch, you don't even think about handballing it. You don't think, oh, there's a ball.
No.
You don't have any thought of handballing it. That's what I'm saying, and it's just it doesn't make sense.
Well, it was rightly punished with a penalty. It's a gift to the referee as well when it's so obvious, isn't it? You know, it's like an open goal for him. In the Championship Part 2, we've got 2 games particularly to focus on the Premier League where things didn't go so well. But in the Championship, there was another penalty given for grappling. This was in Leeds' victory at Cardiff. We'll talk about that. Sheffield Wednesday got away with one in a game at Birmingham, a penalty that should have been awarded. But there's also a big talking point regarding the Owls about a recent red card for Sam Hutchinson. And a drone appeared at Valley Parade. The referee took the players off. We'll talk about all of that Part 2. Hope you can rejoin us. The fourth official calls you over to inspect a substitute's boots. Instead of studs, he has special new leather moulded strips, the same length as studs but in a unique ridged design. Can he come on?